And then the rest of our talk is about answering those questions. And if we do that, we become incredibly engaging because we're triggering questions and then we're answering them. It's really that simple. And because they understand, they're not trying to figure out what we're talking about. They're excited because they understand what we're talking about. They're now along for the journey of learning more and figuring out how they might be able to help. That's what great presentations do. Okay. So that's content. We're going to stop there for a minute. That's not all of content. There's, I do content workshops. I have 3 hours of content we could talk about. We're not going to do that today. It's kind of a sneak peek for some different stuff. What I do want to do, though, is I want to open up the chat and see if people have any questions about that content. So if you have a content question, let me know. If you don't have a content question, then we are going to do a little bit of interaction here. So there's 3 choices. We can talk about visuals, we can talk about body language, or we can talk about voice. We probably won't have time to talk about all 3. So we're going to do a little vote in the chat. 1, 2, or 3. 1 is visuals, 2 is body language, 3 is voice. Whichever you're most interested in, type into the chat, and on 3, we're going to hit enter. 1, 2, 3. Got 3 votes for visuals. Anybody else got a vote? Looks like we're going to start with visuals unless somebody else votes for something else quick. Visuals, 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 visuals. I shouldn't have put visuals at the top. All right. Everybody wants to start with number 1. One of the things you can do with visuals is create PowerPoints that don't have a single trajectory. I'm not going to show you how to do that today, but this is in PowerPoint, and we'll go from slide 20 here to slide 21. But if you had picked the other one, we would have skipped to slide 30. Okay. The other thing you can do with visuals is not always rely on PowerPoint all the time. Okay. You saw that with this and this, right? And this. I've been working with props, not just with PowerPoint. Everything doesn't need to be PowerPoint. Okay. One of the big problems with PowerPoint is when you do PowerPoint moves to center stage. I show you a slide. You look at the slide. I look at the slide. We talk about the slide for a little bit. Every once in a while, I look back at the audience because I know, oh, I'm supposed to make eye contact with the audience. And, oh, yeah, what's next? Oh, I'm supposed to make eye contact with the audience. And then we finish this, and then we crumple this up and we throw it away. And then we have our next slide, and I kind of look at it so I can remember what comes next. And then I start talking, and then I get going. So I look at the audience, and then I need to remember what's next. So I look back, and then then this gets crumpled up and thrown away, and then we do the next one. And we do this for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour, hopefully not an hour, because it's really boring. Because what you're doing as an audience is you're making sense of the slide while I'm talking about it. And you can't do 2 things at the same time. So what you're doing as an audience when we do this is, well, what you're not doing as an audience is listening to the speaker. When you're trying to read that slide, or when you're trying to make sense of that graph, you're no longer listening to the speaker because you can't do 2 things at the same time. So the speaker talks for a little bit and you miss it. And then eventually you either figure out the slide and they're still talking about the slide, in which case you check your email quick. Or you come back to the speaker, but now they're not starting in the beginning. Now they're in the middle of the slide and you're lost. So you go to your email. And we came to listen to you talk. We didn't come to listen. We didn't come to look at your slides. We didn't come to read your slides. If we came to read your slides, we would have said, send us the slides. I don't want to listen. Just send me the slides. It's a presentation, not a slideshow. Okay? Don't let the slides be in charge. Okay? There's some very simple rules here. Okay? Your slides should complement, not compete. Okay? This is some of the science behind it. Okay? So if I show you this whole thing, now you're not listening to me because you're reading, oh, what shouldn't we do? We should minimize tax and we should we should have impact in memory. I wonder what those are about. I wonder what this, like, you're making sense of this, right? You're not listening to me. But if I animate it, and instead of showing you the whole thing at once, I only show you the beginning, compete versus complement. And then I go in and I talk about the compete space, and we talk about how you only have one language processor and you dislike dissonance, and we minimize text and align with vocals. And then we go to the things you can do, like increase comprehension and impact in memories. Now we've worked through this, and then I can show it to you and see if you have questions and ask you about it. But now you've been listening to me, not the slide. Same thing here. Okay. So that was a case. I used something called morphing to do that in PowerPoint. I actually teach people how to do that, but I'm just showing you those today. So if I show you this, a thesis timeline, this was from someone's dissertation. They were presenting their thesis timeline, pretty simple, to their committee, right? They show them this, and everybody on the committee, there are 5 people in the room, everybody's thinking about something else, and they're in a different place. But if I show you this and say, listen, let's talk about September. And then after we're talking about September, let's talk about the fall and the beginning of the winter. And then let's talk about what I'm going to do in the spring. Now I've controlled your attention. Or I can do it the other way. Let's talk about the timeline for my literature review. And then we'll talk about the data collection, which is going to happen in 2 parts. And then we're going to talk about the methodology. And then we're going to talk about the study that I'm actually doing and the timing of that. And then I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to start writing my thesis right away. Those smart students start right away. Now I've controlled your attention. Okay. I haven't shown you too much. This is done with morphing too. That's actually, look at the slide number in the bottom left corner. These are all separate slides. And each one of these slides, we go from the first slide to the next slide with something called morphing, okay? And we open and close these boxes. We make these boxes that are hiding bigger and smaller, and then we take this box and we move it down, and then PowerPoint actually does it for you.